Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and we begin our process of examining genealogical standards as found in the second edition revised of Genealogical Standards, which was produced by the Board for Certification of Genealogists. And this is where I caveat and say I do not represent the Board for the Certification of Genealogists. I am just an associate of the board. I'm not a trustee. I have never been a trustee. However, I believe firmly in the standards and what the Board for Certification of Genealogists means. You will hear this each time that we discuss a standard at the very beginning so that everybody is perfectly clear that you're not going to say, but Craig Scott said. All I'm going to give you is my opinion on the matter, and it's worth about squat. And we'll leave it at that. Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy. And we continue on our ongoing series of, what am I calling it specifically? Genealogical Standards for Documentation, Standard 3, which happens to be purposes. And I apologize for last week's Standard 3. In my haste to get to South Carolina, I didn't realize that I was writing over 55 seconds of silence. And I greatly appreciate the person who made the comment, thank you, Lori, for saying that she'd never heard me be so quiet or something like that. It's very difficult. Genealogical Standards for Documentation. This is the third of 8 of them out of 80. And I've caveated already, so let's continue. 3, Standard 3, purposes. Citations, narrative text, and connections between the two enable genealogists and others to A, assess the credibility of each source or image a genealogist used, B, locate that source or image, and C, understand the research scope. See glossary for definitions of image and source. Of course, the glossary is in the back of the book. So the purpose of documentation, it appears, is through citations and text and connections that we make, kinship that we make between things. Other genealogists can determine whether we've done a good job or not, and determine where we actually found something. Now, I know of a circumstance where somebody wrote something in a journal article, a peer-reviewed journal article, where she referred to a will, cited that will, and when people went to look for that will, they couldn't find that will. It's a very embarrassing moment. You don't really want to have those kinds of embarrassing moments. Remember that in the history of genealogy, we come from a background many years ago, a century ago, of people making stuff up just because it worked for them. Well, we don't make stuff up anymore. Or if you do, you will get caught. Rule number 6 and rule number 7, you will get caught. The thing that we want to deal with is, why are we doing all this? And we're doing all this so that other people can come to the same conclusions we came to looking at the material that we looked at, knowing that the material that we looked at actually existed. And we create, through our citations, we make it easy for people to actually find specifically where we found something. So it's not difficult for them to recreate our research scenario. And that's the purpose of citation, to provide the opportunity for people to recreate our research scenario and possibly come to the same interpretations we did so that our proofs will stand scrutiny and stand the test of time. Can't think of any other reason to do it, except I'd like to do citations so I can find things again. Before I used to do citations, I used to look at the same thing 5 and 6 times before I realized that I looked at it 5 and 6 times. I do not even want to talk to you about the wills of Virginia of 1799, where I found in organizing my vast supply of loose pieces of paper that I had actually transcribed the data on Scots for the Scott 1 name study 7 different times. seemed like a good idea to me, I guess, at the time. But I had no knowledge in my head that I ever looked at it again. And it seemed like I should do that. And had I cited my things appropriately to begin with, it would have been in my mass of information of citations, and I would have seen that I had done it again. You know, we have for our books things like Library Thing and other ways to catalog our books. Some of us catalog our citations, but that's something for another day. This is Craig. This is Just Genealogy. This has been Genealogical Standards for Documentation, Standard 3, Purposes. And I will see you tomorrow. Book Sunday tomorrow. Be safe.